We had a very strong market through the first part of 2018, and then things started late in the third quarter or fourth quarter, we had a pretty significant sell-off. And then all of a sudden we had this aggressive turnaround in the first quarter, and that continued through the second quarter. And so if you look year to date, you see the S&P 500 is up something around 19%. The MSCI EAFE, which is the non-US developed world index, was up about 14%. And even the emerging markets index was up around 11, something in that neighborhood. While the S&P 500 and stock markets, as I just mentioned, in other parts of the world are rising, we're seeing rather contrary economic indicators. The first one of those is simply what we're seeing from the bond market and the yield curve.
A lot of people have been asking about the yield curve and the possible inversion of the yield curve, so I think it's worth taking a closer look at that. The very front end of the yield curve for like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months T-bills are indeed above the 10-year yield, which is sort of the back end that we think about. But the 2-year yield is still below the 10-year yield. So we don't have the classic 2-10 inversion. But the fact that the very front end of the curve is above the back end suggests that investors are a little worried about the future.
It has kind of caught people, I think, a little bit by surprise, and certainly, even the Federal Reserve, to consider that they raised interest rates by 25 basis points in December, and now here we are in July, and people are talking about the possibility of a 50 basis point cut. Clearly, there's been a sea change in the outlook.
The first half of 2019 has been extremely friendly for Sukuk investors. There are a variety of factors that have come into play that make this environment particularly conducive. The Gulf Cooperative Council, or simply put as GCC. That region is still considered an emerging or at least a frontier region. However, there's been a lot of positive developments. First and foremost is that it's one of the few regions globally that continuously receives an improvement in economic growth outlook. Inflationary pressures also in the Middle East have been extremely modest, if not negative, for every month this year to date. The third thing that's really been supportive in this environment is the government stimulus programs. Each government in the region has engaged in a variety of economic stimulus programs to help ensure that economic stability be remaining.
Performance data quoted herein represents past performance and is no guarantee of future results. Investment return and principal value of an investment will fluctuate so that an investor's shares, when redeemed, may be worth more or less than their original cost. Current performance may be significantly higher or lower than data quoted herein. Performance current to the most recent month end can be obtained by visiting www.amanafunds.com or by calling toll-free 1-800-728-8762. Please consider an investment's objectives, risks, charges, and expenses carefully before investing. To obtain this and other important information which you should carefully consider before investing about the Amana funds in a free prospectus or summary prospectus, please visit www.amanafunds.com or call 1-800-728-8762.